Good afternoon. Happy Friday to all. I hope everybody has, I hope most of you have your weekend off, or you at least have a stress-free weekend. First of all, a little housekeeping here. You're going to hear a little creaking sound. Once in a while, I apologize. I don't have the best furniture here. You know, I got this desk chair, and whenever I move, it creaks. So I will try to stay still. But once in a while, I get a little animated. I move around, I adjust myself, and you're going to hear a creak. So heads up, all right? Anyway, I don't like to talk. I try not to mention other people's names when I do these videos because if you talk, I learned in life what goes around comes around. When you start talking about people and you mention their names, you know, it's like serendipity. Sooner or later, they're going to start talking about you. So I tried to put any names out there. Anyway, there's a lot of comedians or ex-comedians have podcasts, and some of them like the trash talk of the comedians and or podcasters. So and I kind of enjoy it. I kind of like it because I'm not a big fan of a lot of, well, I mean, some of them funny. I'm just not a fan of their behavior and their cliquism and their favoritism and their exclusion and just feeling snubbed and feeling invisible. But that's besides the point. There's a particular comedian, right? And this individual has a podcast. And he, basically trash talks without cursing well-known comedians and podcasters. And I'm with him. Everything he says is on point, and I wouldn't even dare mention his name because of, you know what, he can come on here and start mentioning my name. I don't want my name mentioned, to tell you the truth. Not that anybody's going to bother to him because I don't mean anything. But he was just talking about a particular podcaster and comedian who is going to stop his podcast at the end of the summer. And this was a well-known podcaster. This gentleman had one of the original podcasts. And he made an announcement he's not going to be doing his podcast. And this other particular podcast was just talking about him and saying that this individual was not the best comedian, not the funniest comedian in the world. And he was talking about how this individual is an industry comic and how this individual didn't work as hard as he could have. So he shouldn't be so bitter just being an industry comic, that he's lucky enough to be an industry comic. And then he compared himself to the comics, saying that like he wishes, I don't know if he wishes, but he was saying that how he himself was an unpaid regular at XYZ Comedy Club, which is a well-known comedy club in XYZ state. And, all these people complaining, I wish I was an unpaid regular. I really do. I wish I was a podcaster with 3,000 views. These people that are complaining, they're bitter because they're only an industry comic. At least they fucking get into a real show, okay? I am just an open mic comic. That's all I get is open mic stage time. Luckily I found open mics where I get, but I don't even want to do it anymore because it doesn't get me anywhere. What happens in an open mic stays in an open mic. Yes, I've made videos of myself in open mics. It doesn't mean shit. No one cares. No one's looking for me. No one gives a shit if I would drop dead. So they should get the hell. And this individual is talking about how, he's been a comedian for 23 years. All right, well, I've been a comedian for 19 years, and I wasn't even an unpaid regular. I'd never been a fucking host in a bar, okay? Because no comedians are going to do me any favors. They have their little group of 2 or 3 friends who they do their favors to, and everybody else is shit. You're lucky if they fucking say hello to you. And that's the frickin' truth. So I don't even know where to go to get beyond the open mics. I don't know And I don't even want to kiss ass. I'm not an ass kisser. I'm just saying, all these comedians, who are all bitter because they only got up to a certain point. They should be lucky that they got up to that point in their career. Because I never even got up to that point in my career. No one's looking for me. Nobody cares about me. And that's the truth. I'm not asking people to feel sorry for me. I don't put my hopes into making it in comedy anymore. I just do it for the pleasure of it, and I just find other ways to express. I would just like to be able to one day get a job doing something other than having to, do minimum wage jobs. I don't think that's much to ask in my age, not having to be, told what to do by some Gen Z millennial with no social perk who probably has less brains and experience than I do. So that's what my bitterness comes from. I'll admit it. I am bitter, but I'm trying my best to improve myself, to educate myself and apply myself so I can feel. It's all about how you feel. It's all about how you feel about yourself and what your goals are. It's an individual thing. That's all I got to say. Anyway, that's my rant. That's my complaint. That's my voice of invisibility. I'll be back with more thoughts later. Thank you very much. Have a great night.